Hello everyone, I am Subhalakshmi. Welcome all of you to this channel. I am going to discuss about 20 multiple choice question on the topic of structure, reproduction and life cycle of Chlamydomonas, Volvox and Oedogonium. I am sure this will help you in various entrance exams, so watch this video till the end. So before we get into the discussion, let's start from a beautiful message. Start seeing yourself with spiritual eyes and you will feel you are always victorious. It means the spiritual wisdom teaches us to see ourselves with spiritual eyes or the eyes of wisdom. So, when we see ourselves as spiritual beings, then a new depth enters in our lives, and instead of living life on the surface, we go deeper and understand ourselves better, right? Okay, see the first question. Rolling algae. Option A Vaucheria, option B Cara, option C Volvox, option D Fucus. Here the correct answer is option C, that is Volvox. Why Volvox is called rolling algae? Because it moves in a rolling motion and forms small light green balls that spin on the surface of water. So, Volvox is a genus of multicellular green algae that live in fresh water. They grow as plankton on the surface of lake, ponds and storage tanks. So, Volvox cells are arranged in a single layer inside a hollow sphere. The cells are embedded in a gelatinous matrix. The sphere swims with a rolling motion, so it is called rolling algae. Okay. Then see the other option, that is Vaucheria. We know Vaucheria is a genus of yellow-green algae and common name of this algae is water felt. Why it is called water felt? Because the branched or unbranched sinusoidal filaments form felt-like mat. Okay. Then in the option B, that is Cara. We know Cara is a genus of green algae. They are multicellular and superficially resemble with the land plant because of stem-like and leaf-like structure. Okay. And Cara is commonly known as stone rot, mox grass or sand grass. Then in the last option, that is Fucus. We know Fucus is a genus of brown algae found in the intertidal zones of rocky seashores almost throughout the world. Commonly, Fucus is called rockweed. But here, rolling algae is Volvox. Okay. Then next question, which is not a producer? Option A nostoc, option B agaricus, option C mammalian, option D anabena. Here the correct answer is option B, that is agaricus. We know in an ecosystem, producer is an organism that creates its own food using energy from the sun or chemicals. And producer are also known as autotrophs. We know algae are considered as producer in an ecosystem as they are capable of creating their own food through photosynthesis, making them the base of the food chain in aquatic environment. So here in the option A, that is nostoc, we know nostoc is a type of blue-green algae which contains chlorophyll and can perform photosynthesis, so it is a producer because it can make its own food. Okay. Then in the option C, that is mammalian. Mammalian is a type of red algae that produces its own food through photosynthesis, so it is also a producer. Then in the last option, that is anabena, we know it is a photosynthetic cyanobacterium, means it is a blue-green algae that can produce its own food through photosynthesis. So here nostoc, mammalian and anabaena are primary producer in an ecosystem. But in the option B, that is agaricus, means mushroom are not producer because they are unable to make their own food. Instead, they are heterotrophs that get their energy from the dead and decaying organisms. So, it is a saprophyte, and we know Agaricus is a genus of fungi containing both edible and poisonous species. Okay, so here Agaricus is not a producer. Then next question, order of Chlamydomonas is option A siphonales, option B chlorococcales, option C ceramiales, option D volvocales. We know Chlamydomonas is a genus of unicellular biflagellated green algae, okay, and which belongs to the algal class Chlorophyceae, and the order of this algae is Volvocales. So here the correct answer is option D, that is Volvocales. Then see the other option, that is siphonales. Siphonales is an order of algae like Vaucheria. Then chlorococcales. Chlorococcales is an order of blue-green algae like Chlorococcus. Then in the option C, that is ceramiales. Ceramiales is an order of red algae, for example Polysiphonia. Okay, but here the order of the Chlamydomonas is Volvocales. The next question, in Oedogonium, when Androsporangia and Oogonia develop on the same filament, the species is known as option A Gynandrosporus, option B Macrandrosporus, option C Oedoandrosporus, option D Nanandrosporus. Here the correct answer is option A, that is Gynandrosporus. We know Oedogonium is a genus of freshwater filamentous green alga, and the species of Oedogonium are divided into two groups, that is Macrandrous species and Nanandrous species, on the basis of distribution of the sex organ. In Macrandrous species, Antheridia are born on the filaments of normal size. Okay, but in Nanandrous species, the filaments bearing Antheridia and Oogonia show morphological distinction, in which male filaments, which are much smaller than the female filament, are called dwarf male or nanandrium. Again, in some nanandrous species where Androsporangia and Oogonia develop on the same filament are called Gynandrosporous. Okay, and those Nanandrous species where the Androsporangia and Oogonia develop on the different filaments, okay, they are designated as Oedoandrosporous. So here in Oedogonium, when Androsporangia and Oogonia develop on the same filament, the species is known as Gynandrosporous. Then question number 5. H-shaped chloroplast seen in which species of Chlamydomonas? Option A Chlamydomonas musicola, option B Chlamydomonas arkini, option C Chlamydomonas bicillata, option D Chlamydomonas angulosa. We know Chlamydomonas is a unicellular green algae that has a single large cup-shaped chloroplast. But in some species, different shape of chloroplast are also present. For example, parietal shaped chloroplast seen in Chlamydomonas musicola and in Chlamydomonas angulosa. Then stellate or star-shaped chloroplast seen in Chlamydomonas archini, H-shaped chloroplast seen in Chlamydomonas biciliata. So here the correct answer is option C. Okay. Then next question, a small opening through which the hollow asexual daughter colony of Volvox invert itself called option A polypore, option B phyalids, option C pericytium, option D phylopore. Here the correct answer is option D, that is phylopore. We know during asexual reproduction of Volvox, a special type of cell situated at the posterior end of the colony called gonidia, which are 10 times larger than the vegetative cells, and the gonidia do not have flagella and eye spot. Then the protoplast of the gonidium divides and forms daughter colonies. Generally, the gonidium undergoes 3 longitudinal division forming 8 cells, right? And these cells arrange themselves in a curved plate, and this stage is called plakia stage. Each of these 8 cells again divides longitudinally, forming 16 cells. At this stage, the cells form an almost complete sphere except for a small opening called phylopore, right, which is directed towards the periphery of the colony. So, phylopore, it is the site where the colony turns inside out, a process called inversion. So, it is the aperture through which the hollow asexual daughter colony of a Volvox invert itself, right? So, here the correct answer is option D, that is phylopore. Then see the other option, that is polypores. Polypore are a group of fungi that grow on wood and produce spores in pores or tubes on the underside of their fruiting bodies. They are also known as bracket fungi or self fungi. Then in the option B, that is phyalids. Phyalids are also called sterigmata. So, sterigmata are flag-shaped projections that grow from the vesicle of some fungi. For example, in Aspergillus, they are sporogenous cells that produce conidia, right? Then in the option C, that is pericytium. Pericytium is an enveloping sheath in a bryophytes. The main function is to provide protection against drought to young sporophyte. So, pericytium essentially acting as a protective cup-like structure around the archegonia. But here a small opening through which the hollow asexual daughter colony of Volvox invert itself called phylopore. Okay. Then question number 7. In Oedogonium, correct statement is option A. Antherozoids of Macrandrous species and Nanandrous species are similar in their structure. Yes, it is a correct statement. We know species of Oedogonium are divided into two groups, that is Macrandrous species and Nanandrous species, on the basis of distribution of the sex organ. First see the Macrandrous species. In this species, Antheridia are born on the filaments of normal size. Okay. Again, where Antheridia and Oogonia are found on the same filament are called Macrandrous monoecious, and where Antheridia and Oogonia are born on different filament are known as Macrandrous dioecious. Then in Nanandrous species, filaments bearing Antheridia and Oogonia So, morphological distinction. The male filaments, which are much smaller than the female filaments, are called dwarf male or nanandrium. Remember, nanandrous species are always dioecious, that is, Antheridia and Oogonia are born on the different filaments. First, in nanandrous species, androsporangia are born. Then, the nucleus of androsporangia does not divided and the protoplast metamorphoses into a single uninucleate multiflagellate androspore. Remember, in nanandrous species, antherozoids are not directly formed, but here first androsporangia are born. Okay. Another important point, in some nanandrous species where androsporangia and oogonia develop on the same filament are called gynandrosporous, and those the two are born on the different filaments are designated as idoandrosporous. Then the androspore, after liberated from the androsporangium, it is attracted chemotactically towards the oogonial mother cell and gets attached to it or any other adjacent cell by its anterior end. Then it germinates to form a dwarf male, right? The dwarf male has a basal holdfast and one or more antheridia, right? So in nanandrous species, antheridia is not directly developed from the filament. Again, the nucleus of each antheridium divides to form two antherozoids, which are similar in structure to those produced by macrandrous species. Okay, so here option A is the correct statement. That is, antherozoids of the macrandrous species and nanandrous species are similar in their structure. Okay, then in the option B, that is, sufflatory cell are also called cap cell. No, sufflatory cell and cap cell are different. Generally, the oogonial mother cell divides transversely into an upper oogonium and a lower supporting cell or sufflatory cell, right? The supporting cell may again function like oogonial mother cell and forms another oogonium and supporting cell. Okay, then what is cap cell? A characteristic feature of Oedogonium is the presence of distinctive transverse band at the distal end of the sperm cell. The band formed at the time of cell division is called apical cap, and the cell with apical cap is known as cap cell. Okay? Each division of the cell results in the formation of an apical cap. The number of apical caps in a cell indicates the number of times it has divided, right? So here option B is the incorrect statement because sufflatory cell are not cap cell. Then in the option C, that is, macrandrous species are always dioecious. No, it is also incorrect. We know in macrandrous species, antheridia are born on the filaments of normal size and they are maybe monoecious or dioecious. Where antheridia and oogonia are found on the same filament are called macrandrous monoecious, and where antheridia and oogonia are born on the different filaments are known as macrandrous dioecious, right? Then in the last option, that is, when androsporangia and oogonia develop on the same filament, the species is known as idoandrosporous. No, the species is known as gynandrosporous. So it is also a incorrect statement. Then what is Oedoandrosporous? Where androsporangia and oogonia are born on the different filament are designated as Oedoandrosporous. But when they develop on the same filament are called Gynandrosporous. Next question. Members of which of the following orders are exclusively freshwater? Option A. Chitophorales. Option B. Volvox. Option C. Oedogoniales. Option D. Cladophorales. We know the Oedogoniales are an order of filamentous freshwater green algae of the class Chlorophyceae. The Oedogoniales order does not have marine species, right? But in the other option, that is Chitophorales, Volvox and Cladophorales have marine species. Okay, so here the members of Oedogoniales orders are exclusively freshwater. Then next question. In Chlamydomonas, descending delicate fiber connect the blepharoplast with centrosome called option A. Neuromotor apparatus, option B. Rhizoplast, option C. Contractile vacuole, option D. Paradesmos. Here the correct answer is option B, that is rhizoplast. Okay. When you see the structure of the Chlamydomonas cell, the blepharoplast is the basal body organelle that is found at the base of the flagella, and it is the starting point of the flagellum. Then a connecting fiber of the two basal body which connect the two blepharoplast of the flagella is called paradesmos. A fiber extending from one of the basal bodies to the nucleus is called rhizoplast. So here the correct answer is option B. Then see the other option, that is neuromotor apparatus. In Chlamydomonas, neuromotor apparatus is a fibrous system that connect the flagellar apparatus to the cell nucleus, and it help to control the movement of the thallus. Then in the option C, that is contractile vacuole. So contractile vacuole, it is a specialized cell organelle that actively regulate the amount of water inside the cell, essentially acting as a pump to maintain the cell's proper osmotic balance. So the main function of the contractile vacuole is osmoregulation. Okay. Then question number 10. In Oedogonium, the nanandrium develops from option A. zoospore, option B. antherozoids, option C. zoosporangium, option D. androspore. Here the correct answer is option D, that is androspore. We know first in nanandrous species androsporangia are born, then the nucleus of androsporangia metamorphosis, then the nucleus of the androsporangia does not divide and the protoplast metamorphosis into a single uninucleate multiflagellate androspore. Then the androspore, after liberated from androsporangium, it is attracted chemotactically towards the oogonial mother cell and gets attached to it or any other adjacent cell by its anterior end. Then it germinates to form a dwarf male. The dwarf male also called nanandrium. Okay. So in Oedogonium, the nanandrium or dwarf male develops from the androspore. Okay. Then question number 11. Thick-walled diploid resting spore in Chlamydomonas is called option A. zygospore, option B. zoospore, option C. hypnospore, option D. aplanospore. Here the correct answer is option A, that is zygospore. We know after the fusion of the two gamete in the sexual reproduction of Chlamydomonas, it forms zygote, which is diploid. Then it secretes thick wall, accumulate oil and starch, then turns reddish in color and transform into zygospore. The zygospore survives long period of unfavorable condition and germinate on approach of the favorable condition. Okay. So here zygospore is the thick walled diploid resting spore in Chlamydomonas. Right. Then see the other option, that is zoospore. Zoospore are not diploid. They are motile and haploid in nature. Then in the option C, that is hypnospore. We know hypnospore are thick walled resting spore but not diploid, right? Then in the last option, that is aplanospore. Aplanospore are thin walled spore. They are also haploid in nature. Okay. Then next question, algae with motile colony is option A Chlamydomonas, option B Coelastrum, option C Volvox, option D Chlorella. We know Volvox is a colonial alga and the colonies are oval or spherical in shape. The cells are biflagellate and are arranged in a single layer within the periphery of the gelatinous colonial envelope. Okay, so the motile colony algae is Volvox. Then see the other option, that is Chlamydomonas. We know Chlamydomonas is a motile green algae, but they are unicellular, not colonial, right? Then in the option B, that is Coelastrum. Coelastrum is a genus of green algae. They are non-motile synovial form. Then in the last option, that is Chlorella. Chlorella is also a genus of green algae and they are unicellular and non-motile. Okay. Then next question, the presence of distinctive transverse bands at the distal end of some cells, a characteristic feature of which algae? Option A Oedogonium, option B Volvox, option C Chlamydomonas, option D Cladophora. Here the correct answer is option A, that is Oedogonium. A characteristic feature of Oedogonium is the presence of distinctive transverse bands at the distal end of some cells. The band formed at the time of cell division is called apical cap. And the cell with apical cap is known as cap cell, right? And remember, the number of apical caps in a cell indicates the number of times it has divided. Okay. Then next question, Chlamydomonas yellowstonensis caused option A red snow, option B yellow snow, option C blue snow, option D green snow. Here the correct answer is option D, that is green snow. Chlamydomonas yellowstonensis caused green snow. And remember, another species of Chlamydomonas, that is Chlamydomonas nivalis, caused the red snow. Okay. Then question number 15. In Oedogonium, the androspore always germinate on the oogonia, on the sufflatory cell, anywhere close to oogonium, on the androsporangia. Here the correct answer is option C, that is in Oedogonium the androspore always germinate anywhere close to the oogonium. We know androspore is a uninucleate multiflagellate spore produced from the androsporangium. Then it is attracted chemotactically towards the oogonial mother cell and gets attached to it or any other adjacent cell by its anterior end. Then it germinates to form a dwarf male. Okay. Then question number 16. Incorrect statement about Volvox. Option A. Reproductive cells are generally formed in posterior region of the synovium. Yes, it is a correct statement. We know in Volvox a certain number, especially in the posterior half of the colony, become enlarged and function either as asexual or sexual reproductive cells. The reproductive cells are recognized by their large size, definite large nuclei, and more denser granular protoplasmic content, and they divide to form a new colony. Okay, so the reproductive cells are generally found in the posterior region of the synovium in Volvox. Then in the option B, specialized sexual reproductive bodies are called gonidia. No, it is the asexual reproductive bodies. Gonidia is not the sexual reproductive bodies in Volvox. In Volvox, in the posterior half of the synovium, take part in asexual reproduction. These special reproductive cells gradually push back into the colony, withdraw their flagella, increase 10 times the size of the vegetative cells, and become more or less rounded in form. And they are recognized by their well defined nuclei and dense granular cytoplasm. Such reproductive cells are called gonidia, right? So gonidia are asexual reproductive bodies. So here option B is the incorrect statement. Then in the option C, that is gonidia do not have flagella. Yes, it is also a correct statement. Then in the last option, gonidia are relatively larger than the vegetative cell. Yes, it is also a correct statement. Okay. Then next question, in Oedogonium, which type of zoospores are found? Option A, pleuroconch. Option B, opisthoconch. Option C, heteroconch. Option D, stephanoconch. Here the correct answer is option D, that is stephanoconch. Generally, the term stephanoconch used to describe a spore or gamete with a ring of flagella around its anterior end. So, in Oedogonium, the zoospore are stephanoconch type. It means a ring of flagella are present around its the anterior end. Okay. Then see the other option, that is pleuroconch. According to the place of insertion of the flagella, they are of different type. For example, that is pleuroconch means the cells with flagella inserted laterally. Then in the option B, that is opisthoconch, the cells with flagella inserted posteriorly, right? Then heteroconch. It means if the flagella are unequal or are of different length, called heteroconch, right? But here in Oedogonium, the zoospores are stephanoconch type. Then next question, which is a suitable factor for sexual reproduction in Chlamydomonas? Option A, low supply of nitrogen. Option B, absence of calcium. Option C, water rich in ammonia. Option D, all are suitable factors. No, here the correct answer is option A, that is low supply of nitrogen. We know in Chlamydomonas, sexual reproduction are controlled by certain environmental factors. These are low supply of nitrogen, deficiency of nutritive materials, temperature and ion concentration, bright sunlight and carbon dioxide concentration, and presence of calcium. So, in Chlamydomonas, sexual reproduction occurs under the certain unfavorable condition, generally due to the absence of nitrogenous compound on the medium. Okay. Then next question, Plakia stage in Volvox is a 16-celled stage, option B 7-celled stage, option C 8-celled stage, option D 28-celled stage. Here the correct answer is option C, that is Plakia stage in Volvox is a 8-celled stage. We know the reproductive cells at the back of the colony of the Volvox enlarge and become gonidium. The gonidium become rounded and lose their flagella and eye spot. Then the gonidia undergo 3 successive division to form a curved plate-like structure of 8 cells, and this stage is called plakia stage. So the plakia stage is the name given to the curved plate-like structure of 8 cell in the asexual reproduction of Volvox. Then last question. Volvox, Oedogonium and Chlamydomonas are different in their option A life cycle, option B thallus organization, option C class, option D all. Here the correct answer is option B thallus organization. We know in Volvox, Oedogonium and in Chlamydomonas the life cycle type is haplontic type. Here, the plant body is gametophytic, means the haploid, and the sporophyte is the diploid stage, is represented only by the zygote, right? Then the gametophytic plant develops haploid gamete in the gametangium. Then the fusion between gametes result the formation of the zygote. The only diploid stage, that is the sporophytic phase of the life cycle. So it is called the haplontic type of life cycle. But they are different in thallus organization. Why? Because in Volvox, the thallus organization is motile synovial form. In Oedogonium, the thallus type is unbranched filamentous form, and in Chlamydomonas, it is flagellated unicellular motile type, right? Then in the option C, that is class. We know Volvox, Oedogonium and Chlamydomonas are belongs to one algal class, that is Chlorophyceae. Okay, so they are similar in their life cycle and class, but they are different in their thallus organization. Okay. So in this video I cover all the 20 multiple choice question with their proper explanation, right? So you must join in the Telegram group for freely attend the quiz in every Sunday, right? So thank you.